We are back for the Dana White Contender Series prediction show. This is week 2. I am your host. I am Keith Shillan. I am a writer for SureDog. I'm also the executive producer of the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network and the SureDog Radio Network. Last week, we kicked off the Dana White Contender Series. There's only 4 fights because of a last-minute change of the lineup. I did okay. I only went 2-2 on my picks. I made 2 underdog picks. Neither one came through. But I'm probably more confident this week than last week's because if you remember last week, I think I said I wasn't confident in any of the picks. This week, I'm a little more confident. I am taking another underdog. But let's get right into it. I think we have a really fun lineup. We're going to start off in the middleweight division. We have Anthony Adams versus Impa Kasanganai. I've been practicing that. I wrote it down phonetically, and then my mind just went totally blank. It's Kasanganai. These two guys are both Dana White Contender Series veterans. We'll start off with Anthony Adams, Mr. Sugarfoot himself. He's 32 years old. He trains under the tutelage of Mr. Thomas Denny. He lost on the Dana White Contender Series last year. Or maybe it was 2000. I think it was actually 2018. He took the fight on really short notice. But many people thought he should have won the fight. He is a striker. He does well. He stays compact, stays tight, rolls with his punches. Rolls his shoulders with his punches really well to avoid strikes. He cuts angles, leaving him in position to attack. A lot of lateral movement. Uses feints well, but I think all his feinting, all his defense, he almost focuses on defense too much because his output is really low. But when he strikes, he's accurate. He's got a really nice jab, which he uses off of his feints. Straight right is probably his best punch. When he backs up, he has a nice check left hook. He throws these chopping leg kicks. Then he throws a nice teep kick up the middle. The occasional spinning attack. But then, like I said, negative is that he has low output, can tend to throw one strike at a time. Not really a power threat, more of a, just more of a guy who just out techniques his guys. He only has 1 career stoppage. He's actually been hurt himself in the past on the feet. His best position is probably his plum clinch, where he gets in there, really grinds it out. He's very strong in there. He will look for a takedown, so don't think he's just a striker. He's not an explosive wrestler, but he will surprise with a takedown. He can tend to shoot a little too far away, and that's going to be a theme. I think this might be the theme of this week, because I'm going to say that for about 3 or 4 different opponents. And he doesn't really set it up. But when he gets to the ground, he has some pretty good back takes, and he's pretty solid defending takedowns himself. Now, let's go over to his opponent, Kasanganai. Kasanganai is just 26 years old, former NCAA football player, trains out of the Jimmo team with the likes of Brian Barberino. He's undefeated, 6-0. All 6 fights have happened since 2019, so he's really brand new to MMA. Already has a win in the Dana White Contender Series. Like I just said about Anthony Adams, he also stays pretty compact. He also uses feints. The only difference is he throws punches. He throws a lot of punches. He's aggressive. He throws combos. He also hits hard. He generates power by sitting on his punches. He's very physically strong. He's not much of a submission threat. He's probably a pretty terrible wrestler. In the past, he's been taken down easily. He was actually mounted easily. But what I'm most impressed by him is that he, like I said earlier, he has a lot of output on the feet, and he sustains that throughout the entire fight, which is something I really like. And also, being that he just turned to MMA, like I said, he's a former NCAA wrestler, so he's a high-level athlete. He should be making big jumps in improvement. As for prediction, who do I think is going to win? This is a tough one. This is probably the toughest fight on the card to pick. I really like this fight. I think they have similarities and differences. The similarities being that they're both compact strikers who hide behind a kind of, a high boxing guard. They both use feints well, but they're in different and as Adams, I think, is the much more accurate striker, but he doesn't throw enough and lacks power. His opponent, I keep messing up his last name. Trying to say it, Kasanganai. He isn't as polished as Adams, but he throws more and hits harder. A striking battle between these two guys could be a really fun fight. Because of Adams' accuracy, if he can get someone who's going to throw a lot and press the pace, that might force Adams to throw more, that's what I really want from him. That said, Adams should have a huge advantage in the wrestling department as long as Kasanganai has not made a huge improvement, which he very possibly will. But assuming that he hasn't made this huge improvement, I could see Adams taking him down early and getting a submission, or taking him down and riding him out. I'm going to actually go with that way. It's an upset pick. It's going to be my upset special. It's going to be so I'm going to go right out the gate with an upset. I'm going to say Adams. I'm going to say he gets some takedowns, and top control is going to be enough to beat Kasanganai. I can't get past his takedown defense. What I've seen. I've seen some interviews with Kasanganai. This guy is so likable. Like, he's the most likable guy in this entire card. But I just can't get past that glaring weakness. So give me Adams in an upset. I'm going right up with the upset right away. Second fight, we have a fun scrap in the featherweight division. TJ Laramie versus Daniel Swann. Laramie is a Canadian fighter. 22 years old, has an 11-3 record, former TKO champion, current PFC champion, has a really impressive win over Charles Jourdain. He's a training partner of Cody Stamann, who's been going down there, and again, working with Cody Stamann being his main sparring partner. TJ Laramie is probably most famous. I don't know if you've seen this. I don't know if it was on Instagram or Twitter or where it was, but you can find it if you just Google this, where he caught his girlfriend cheating on him and recorded it. I don't know how real. I mean, it could very well be a spoof one. I didn't look too much in it, but when I was doing research, I remember seeing that video years ago. If it's fake, someone reach out to me, tell me that it was fake. I didn't really look too much into that. I don't really follow that kind of drama. If you want to know about like fighters' relationships and fighters dating, just reach out to Marcel Doff. Marcel Doff loves talking about fighters' relationships. So that's at BigMarcel24 on Twitter. Back to the actual X and O's of this. I like Laramie. This kid looks good. He's a bit small for featherweight. He's a former bantamweight. And I saw an interview recently where they asked him about moving down to bantamweight, and he says he does not like to cut weight. He doesn't want to cut weight, so he's not going to move down to bantamweight. Though I think it should be the move he does. That said, he looks good. I mean, he's well-rounded. He's got some kickboxing experience. I like the way he attacks on the feet. He's pretty relentless in the attack. His striking seems to improve between fight to fight. He's got some decent pop on his strikes. Works behind a nice, crisp jab. Short, because he's a shorter guy. He has to step in the range, step in the pocket. But because of that, he lands nice, short, compact hooks. He will go after the body, similar to like the Stipe, dipping down, shovel, uppercut, hook to the body. That's something Laramie likes to do. He can wing his punches sometimes. Defensively is where he needs to make the biggest improvement. He can be a little flat-footed, and that hurts him to avoid, striking attacks, especially if someone comes on him on a straight line. He does throw a lot of calf kicks. In the ground, he's a good wrestler. He's very good in transition and scrambles. Has a nice double leg when he's on top. Good control, good ground and pound, good back takes. When he gets someone's back, he does very well to flatten them out, and then ground and pound does that more than look for the rear naked choke. Defensively in the wrestling part, good defensive wrestler. If he's getting taken out, he might jump on a guillotine, but usually use that guillotine to sweep. He has gone 25 minutes. Not that that's relevant in this fight, but I'm just saying, he has a deep gas tank. We've seen him, go 25 minutes on the regional scene as a regional champion. I like this kid. Now let's go to Daniel Swann. Swann is a guy who has 30 professional fights. He's 29-1 record. Not the best record, but 30 fights heading into the Contender Series can only be a positive thing. The guy's been a bit of a world traveler, fought in every organization, regional scenes, fought in all different kinds of countries, Japan, Europe, and he's a little bit of a weird pick to be on the Contender Series, being that he's lost 3 of his last 7 fights. But if you look more recently, he's won 4 out of 5. He's an aggressive strike. He's an aggressive grappler. I was gonna say something else, but I decided not to say it. It might get me in trouble. Why I believe he's on the show, but he's an aggressive, very aggressive striker and grappler. He will throw combinations, though he's not very athletic. He's a little flat-footed. Keeps his chin up in the air. Pulls his head straight back. Doesn't check leg kicks. But he's just really tough. He knows he wants to close the distance and make the fight dirty. He's very good in the clinch, and especially the dirty boxing when he'll grab a collar tie one hand, land elbows, land punches, uppercuts, all in that close position. He does good to keep his opponent pinned against the cage, kind of uses head positioning, pushing his head against his opponent's head, leaving his head in line where he wants it. He's a solid wrestler. Sometimes there's been many fights where he will look to shoot immediately, and he does that by basically like the first strike he throws, he'll just follow that strike and drop in on the hips. If he gets a body lock, he has done some lateral drops, which is nice. On top, he's got some solid ground control. He will like to strike, land some ground strikes, but he's a serious submission threat. He's I don't know what his belt is in BJJ, but he has BJJ experience. So there were some tournaments I found of him. Tournaments with BJJ competitions that he's in. On his back, he's got he can take the back pretty slick, but he also has he'll sweep off his back. He has a submission threat, as I already said. He has been taken down in the past, and I don't like that. For someone who's been wrestling since he was 4 years old, I don't like how easily he's been taken down. Some of that is because he will look for a guillotine instead of defending, instead of sprawling, instead of underhook, instead of whizzing, he'll jump to a guillotine. He's pretty confident off his back, and he'll fight off his back a lot instead of scrambling to his feet, which if anybody's ever listened to any of my breakdown shows knows I don't really like that. He's slowed down in the past, but he's also been able to fight through fatigue. The last thing, he's got a lot going on in his life. This guy had a brand new baby. I think it was like 2 weeks old when he steps in. So he's got a lot of stuff going on. As for prediction, who wins this fight? This is my lock of the night. I like Laramie. I like Laramie easily. I think he's better than Swann on both the feet and the ground. I expect him to pick apart Swann on the feet early, eventually forcing Swann to shoot him for takedown. I think there'll be some fun grappling between these two, as they're both decent grapplers, but I think Laramie will eventually get the top position and ground and pound Swann out. I like Laramie to get a TKO, say round 2, and I think Laramie is the newest Canadian added to the UFC roster. I think Laramie gets the UFC contract. Moving on, we have Vanessa Thermopolis versus Corey Mckenna. This is the first female fight of the season. Let's get right into it. Vanessa Thermopolis, best known as being the fighter who is also a stripper. And I saw her a interview where she says her whole family was in the stripping business. Her mom was a stripper. Her dad was a DJ. That's how they met each other. Dad has helped her in the DJ business. It's a really weird family thing going on. I don't know, but moving on to the actual X's of those. She has a 5-1 record. She trains out of Black House MMA. She's the reigning LFA strawweight champion. On the feet, she is a work in progress. It's weird. It seems like as she's grown, she's getting worse as a striker. Like, I actually was watching some of her amateur fights, and this might be just facing lesser competition, but I was actually more impressed as her amateur striking than as she's been a pro. She does stay compact, does tuck her chin. I like that. Early in the career, she used to bounce her head off the center line a lot, bob and weaving side to side. I like that. She's kind of gotten away from that a little bit recently. I think hopefully she goes back to that. She does make the mistake of leaning back a little bit, and there's been times she's been hit while she was leaning back, and it makes her kind of fly away from her opponent, and it looks worse than the strike that lands, and that's something she's gonna have to fix, especially if she gets a close decision that can backfire on, where she loses a close decision because of that. Her best strike is her right hand, and she lands it because this girl can take a beating. Like I said, she's not the best on the feet, but Sam Hughes was teeing off on her, and she just made it a dirty fight and stayed in the fight, and eventually getting a submission because of how tough she was. That she was walking through exchanges, landing her right hand, didn't give up. On the ground, all that said, on the ground is where she wants to get this fight. She's a legit submission threat. She will look for a guillotine while being taken down, which is like another theme I think of going on tonight. But she has some slick back takes. She's extremely flexible. I'm sure there's some kind of stripper joke in there you can put in there. Good arm bars off her back. Trying to get the fight to the ground. She closes distance well, but a lot of times she'll shoot from too far away. But all she needs to get close because she'll pull guard. She'll in an army roll. And when I say she's a legit threat, like she's a threat to end the fight at any time. Hughes in her last fight for the strawweight title in the LFA was really teeing off on her. And then in the fourth round, she was down 3 rounds out there. Vanessa Thermopolis got an inverted triangle, one of the best submissions of the year. Let's go over to her opponent, Corey McKenna. Corey McKenna is 7-0. She was 7-0 as an amateur. She's 4-1 as a pro. She's a British fighter. She's a teammate of Molly McCann, Cage Warriors veteran. Pretty well-rounded on the feet. I like how she switches stances. She does well she does it like she has a very darting approach where she'll dart into range, pop, land some shots, dart into range, then get out. She throws some chopping leg kicks. She will throw a high kick, but doesn't really set it up. It's something that she seems like she's trying to develop. It's not there yet. Even though I think she's pretty solid in a stand-up game, she really wants to close the distance, get in clinch where she's a grinder. She's physically imposing, though I don't think she's a good athlete. She's just a brute. She'll pick up her opponent. She'll slam them. If she can get on her hips, if she can't lift them up, she'll drive through. There was one fight where she was driving and went to that back trip, which was really nice. Like I've been saying all episode, she can shoot from too far away. She gets her best takedowns when she can get her opponent in the fence and shoot from the pocket inward. While she's a pretty good offense wrestler, she's not good defensively. I mean, there's many fights she was taken out pretty easily. She had a back taken in one of her amateur fights, almost got submitted in that fight. I don't like that. Like I said, she is well-rounded, but not very explosive, not very athletic. Let's get to prediction. This was the first fight was really hard. This might be, besides the first fight, this is probably the second hardest fight to pick. Mckenna is probably the better fighter. She's clearly more well-rounded. But Thermopolis can end the fight in an instant, and I don't think Mckenna can do that. I expect Mckenna to get out to an early, kind of piece up Thermopolis in the stand-up, get to the clinch, grind her out. But I think she'll eventually make a mistake and get submitted. I will take Thermopolis getting a third-round submission, something off her own back, like an armbar or a triangle or something. That says, I think she'll show enough in that fight to show that she's not ready for UFC, that she still needs a lot of work, especially in the stand-up. So I was going to say no contract. Maybe she gets a developmental contract because I definitely see a future in her. I just don't know if she's ready for UFC. Moving on, a bantamweight matchup between Adrian Giannis versus Brady Hong. I might be saying Brady's last name wrong. I apologize if I am. Adrian Giannis is 10-3, 26 years old, fighting out of Houston, Texas. He trains out of Salt Solis. He's a really solid prospect. He stalks his opponent. He's like a stalking counter striker. Has fast hands, some nice snap on them. What's most impressed by him is how relaxed he stays. His hands aren't tense. His arms aren't tense. Something that I've seen so many times in high level strikers, how relaxed they are when they're, facing their opponents. But don't confuse what I'm saying by relaxed as in low output, because he's not. He's actually very high. He fights at a very high pace, high output. He's got good timing on beating his opponents to the punch. Does well to attack, leave himself in position to land power shots, hooks, uppercuts. He has really good vision, where it seems that he really sees his opponent's strikes. Now, some of the things I say when I talk about really top level strikers, guys I'm most impressed with, and some of the things that always jump out is vision, staying relaxed. These are things that Giannis has, and I like that. Some things he doesn't have, he doesn't check leg kicks. His last fight, his opponent was really attacking his legs, and the higher level he goes up, the higher echelon he goes up, that's going to be a problem. He's not the best defensive wrestler. While early in his career, getting up off his back was a huge issue. In the fight against Miles Johns, I think he showed great improvement and make guys work. He almost beat Miles Johns. Let's go over to Brady Hong. Every single week there is someone that is hard to find tape on, and this week it's Hong. I found a little bit on him, but not as much as I want to find on a fighter. Let's talk about some of the things I did find. This guy's 11-1. Very impressive 11-1. He's got 10 stoppages. His only loss came to UFC, current UFC fighter Martin Day. He's only 27 years old, despite having the nickname the Kung Fu Warrior name, and I know he does have some kind of traditional martial arts background. This guy's a wrestler. I mean, he's competed, and I'm not sure if it's D2 or D3, but he's wrestled in college. He's traveled around a little bit. His last fight was in Pancrase. From what I've seen, and like I said, there's limited footage on what I've seen of him. I didn't see much in the stand-up other than a pretty basic rudimentary 1-2 strike. He does wing power strikes, but they don't really land that much. So he looks like he wants to wrestle. But despite having the wrestling background, he's not very explosive. As I said about, who was it? Swain. As I said about Swain earlier in the fight, he's probably similar, where he's probably more of a ground wrestler. Someone who probably like to put in legs or go for tilts, something like that. Someone who like beats up his opponents in wrestling on the ground instead of being a powerful takedown guy. Though when the little tape I've seen of him, when he is on top, he does well to continue to pass to better position, and transitions him out pretty well. Prediction, I'm not very confident in my pick because I haven't seen much of Hang. That said, I really like Giannis striking. He has faced a much better competition. Give me Giannis by unanimous decision. From what I've seen, it should be one-sided. I think Giannis is ready for UFC. I think he gets a contract too. We move on to the main event. Joseph Pfeiffer versus Dustin Stofus. I might have been saying Dustin's name wrong. Pfeiffer, Mr. Body Bags. He's 23 years old. He has a 7-1 record, 7 stoppage wins. Student of Eddie Alvarez. He's a bit of a can crusher. That says, as you watch film on him, you got to check out the commentators of Art of War. Shout out to Sean Bitter, who gave me a heads up about the Art of War commentators, so you can enjoy this. I don't want to ruin it. Just check out some of his fights with Art of War commentators. They're really funny. Let's get back to Pfeiffer. Throws a lot of inside leg kicks. That's probably the only technical thing he does on the feet. Well, he's not very technical. In fact, he's kind of ugly on the feet. He does a lot of things wrong, including backing himself up towards the fence. That said, he makes up for it by having crushing power. He's a very physically imposing guy. He shoots from a distance. I'm sorry. he'll shoot from a distance and does well to close the distance. If he gets on your hips, he's probably going to pick you up and slam you. If not, body locks, he can toss you on the body lock. Good ground and pound. He is a submission threat. He's got 2 submission wins. But like I said earlier, he's fought some low-level competition, so it's hard to really grasp how good he is. As to Stofus is 28 years old, German fighter. He got a 12-1 record. He got 7 stoppages. He's well-rounded. He switches stances really well. Sits on his punches to generate power. Really good slip and rip right hand. Probably his best strike. I mean, this guy, I might be underselling that strike. Like, he whips that right hand. Like, he throws it very hard. Good leg kicks, occasional spinning attack. Can have a little low output, can prune sometimes. And I don't like that. As for the grappling department, good wrestler. He's got 7 submission wins. He's got a win by knee bar. His last fight, he got a twister. He'll drop on leg locks, and he's really hard to take down. So who do I think is going to win this? Pfeiffer's a brute. But he's feasted off cans. Stofus has smashed good competition. I expect him to catch Pfeiffer when he shoots for a takedown. I really like what I've seen in Stofus. I apologize for saying his name wrong, but I think I have it right. Stofus, the German fighter. I think he can get a submission when Pfeiffer makes a mistake shooting, without setting up. I think Pfeiffer gets a guillotine submission. And I think he gets a contract. So that's it, guys. Let's recap my picks. This is who I got. I got Anthony Adams. That's my upset special. After that, I got TJ Laramie as my lock. I like Vanessa Thermopolis, Adrian Giannis, and Dustin Stofus. I like Laramie, Giannis, and Stofus to get UFC contracts, and Thermopolis getting a developmental contract. Hope you guys enjoy the fights. Reach out to me, Keith Shillan. My Twitter is at Keith Shillan MMA. That's my last name is spelled Shillan. So that's at KeithShillanMMA. Reach out to me on Twitter. Tell me who you like in these fights. I'll be back next week for week 3. Let's keep this train rolling. See you then.